Hello, and welcome to the Limbo of Fantasy. My name is Ola, and today we are on the episode 6 of a mini-series of videos which focuses on analyzing the differences between the TV show and the books. We take every episode under scrutiny, one by one, and see what the show changed, what people and events show presented differently than the books do. So, obviously, there will be spoilers ahead. Today, we are talking about Season 1, Episode 6, Rare Species. This episode is mainly based on the Bounds of Reason story. Number 1. Dragon Hunters. Introduction of all the people involved in the dragon hunt is very streamlined in the show. We meet them all in an inn where Borch and Geralt are sitting. There are 4 teams: Noble Knight named Eik, accompanied by Yennefer, Reavers, led by Bocholt, the dwarves under the command of Yarpen Zigrin, and Borch, along with his Zerrikanian ladies. Borch, also known as Three Jackdaws, tries to recruit Geralt into his team, and the Witcher agrees after he sees Yennefer. In the books, Three Jackdaws doesn't form a dragon fighting team and doesn't try to recruit Geralt. They meet seemingly by accident, and go to the inn purely to get some food and drink, and later have some R-rated fun with the Zerrikanian girls in a tub. Even Jaskier isn't there with them. We only find out about the dragon hunt the next day, when our heroes are stopped on their way to Hengfors. And that is when we meet the others, starting with Jaskier, who is, as usual, following the sensation. There are quite a bit more people involved in the hunt in the books. As in the show, we have the noble but silly knight named Eik, but he doesn't have Yennefer accompanying him. Book Eik actually dislikes mages, thinks them deviants and blasphemers. Book Yennefer joins the hunt totally on her own. Apart from her, we also have another mage present, Dorregaray of Vole, a genuine tree-hugger and defender of the natural order. Next, we have the 3 Cinfrid Reavers, led by Bocholt, who in the books is somewhat less of a fan of just killing people for little reason, and is also much more talkative. Reavers are mercenaries and monster hunters, not hired thugs, and Bocholt is actually the one that comes up with a deal on how the dragon horde should be divided between all the hunters, and presents that deal to the king. Book Bocholt and Geralt also know each other, and, as the Reaver charmingly puts it, they don't get in each other's way. After the Reavers come the dwarves, led in the books as in the show by Yarpen Zigrin. Book Yarpen has a biting tongue, but he is neither aggressive nor belligerent, as we see show Yarpen be. He even specifically says that he stops himself from such actions to not project hostility and add to the stereotype of a brute dwarf that is impossible to live with. Show Yarpen tries to beat up the innkeeper and threatens to piss into Bocholt's gruel. After the dwarfs comes the cobbler named Sheepbagger, who is based on a character from an old Polish folklore and a children's story written by Janina Porazinska. The cobbler is quite the village hero. When the green dragon starts attacking the sheep herds and their flocks, Sheepbagger figures out a trap. He stuffs a sheep carcass with all kinds of poisonous and vile things and sews it up. He then props the carcass in the middle of the herd to bait the dragon, and it works. The green dragon eats the bait, and it poisons her quite hard. Although it doesn't kill her, she flies away, just barely, and hides in the mountains. Sheepbagger here is serving as a guide for the king and his party. And finally comes the king himself, Niedamir, and his chancellor, Guildenstern, and his contingent of soldiers. Neither is included in the show. It is the king, through his advisor, that allows Geralt, Borch, Jaskier and the Zerrikanians to tag along with them, even though they do not intend to hunt the dragon. Number 2. On the road. In the show, the king offers dragons treasure and the lordship of a new vassal state to anyone who slays the dragon. In the books, no lordship is offered, and the hunters are in it for the treasure and the body of the dragon itself. In the show, we see quite a bit of a cutthroat competition, with everyone trying to be the first to reach the dragon. Yarpen offers a shortcut that will help them leave the rivers behind. Borch murders Aik. Yennefer freezes the dwarfs in place, and everyone just ditches Jaskier. Nothing like that happens in the books. There, a deal is struck between the hunters and the king. On the basis of that deal, everyone that physically contributes to the dragon's demise, by swinging an axe or a sword at it, will get to share 50% of the dragon's hoard. The king will get 25% because he is the king, and anybody else that helps, with magic for example, will get to share the leftover 25%. So Borch proposes and the king agrees, and everyone works together, more or less happily, at least for a time. In the show, the road through the mountains is too narrow for horses and overrun by monsters. They even meet one hungry Hirika that is promptly killed by Aik, introducing us to his monster hunting ways. In the books, the road is just fine, not only for horses but also for wagons. However, a lot is lost during the avalanche. The hunters do not meet any Hirakas or any other monsters for that matter. In the show, our hunters split up when Yarpen offers to lead some of them through a shortcut. They leave the rivers behind and step on a rickety footbridge that hugs the side of the mountain. The thing collapses under Borch and he plummets into the mist, along with Thea and Vea. It is assumed that he then transforms into a dragon and they safely fly away. In the books, everybody is going through the bridge over a chasm that was once built by trolls. However, Borch strategically stays behind. He causes a landslide and the bridge collapses, causing some of the wagons, as well as some of the soldiers, to plummet into the chasm. The bridge breaks in half, and Yennefer and Geralt are hanging onto it, dangling on the cliffside, with her holding onto him. Finally, after some discussion of whether they are worthy of rescue, Aik throws Yen and Geralt a rope and they are dragged to safety. Number 3. Personal connections. In the show, we are led to believe that not all that much time has passed between the Rinde events and the dragon hunt. Geralt and Yennefer, who first met during the Ginny storyline, didn't form any relationship or even see each other afterwards. Show Yennefer tells us that Geralt left her in the destroyed mayor's house, and she woke up in the morning alone. So, all they really had was just that one evening and night together. In the books, 10 years passed between the Ginny story and the dragon hunt. Geralt and Yen already had a long and stormy relationship. They even lived together for a year in Vengerberg, before Geralt couldn't stand Yen's possessiveness anymore and left without saying goodbye. This last breakup, in probably already quite long line of breakups and getting back together, happened 4 years before the dragon hunt. Yen and Geralt didn't see each other since then, but she is still exceedingly mad at him, and she says she will never forgive him. Geralt tries to apologize, mend the rift between them, ask her for forgiveness, but Yen is having none of it. Only later, when she is trying to emotionally manipulate Geralt into killing the dragon for her, she promises that she will indeed forgive him. Basically, she is offering him a bribe. I will forgive you and all will be well. Just go and kill that dragon for me, because I want it all to myself. That kind of manipulation is very typical of book Yennefer. However, this time Geralt is having none of it. They do mend their relationship eventually, at the end of this story, After all the trials and tribulations of the dragon hunt, Yennefer just decides to ignore how she promised never to forgive Geralt and forgives him, becomes warm towards him again. And he, like a whipped dog that he usually is in her presence, accepts that with glee and comes back running. Villentretenmerth, also known as Borch, talks to Geralt and Yen about their relationship at the end. He tells them that even though they are destined for one another, nothing will come of it. As Yennefer herself says later in another story, destiny is insufficient. I talked much more about Geralt-Yen relationship in my Yennefer character profile video, so click on that if you're interested. In the show, Geralt and Yen have quite a different relationship. As I already mentioned, they didn't really form any yet. They spent a night together after the genie fight and parted in the morning. They feel drawn to one another, but did nothing about that up till now. They meet by chance during this hunt, and while Yennefer mentions the fact that Geralt just left without saying goodbye, she is not really mad about that. She is just relieved that they didn't die on the mountain path. They sleep together during the events of this episode and get to know each other a bit better. Geralt finds out that Yen is tormented by her infertility and frantically searches for a cure, just like Book Yennefer does. By the way, Show Yen says here that they took her choice away, even though she is the one that willingly made the choice to give up her fertility. Nobody forced her. But, hypocrisy aside, the fledgling connection between Show Geralt and Yen doesn't last long, and they end this story in an opposite way to their book counterparts. They break up, if you can even use such a term to refer to a relationship that didn't even really start. Borch reveals to Yen what Geralt wished for, that he wished not to lose her. And that infuriates Yennefer. She assumes that this makes their feelings for one another false, artificially created by magic. She gets mad at Geralt and storms away. In the books, we never find out what the exact wording of Geralt's wish was, but Yen hears it when he makes it, and she has quite a different reaction to it. She is astounded, positively so. She believes that Geralt condemned himself to her, and can't believe that anyone would ever do anything like that for her. That immediately brings her closer to Geralt. This serves as yet another example how Show Yennefer and Book Yennefer are quite different. Show Geralt, quite distressed by Yennefer leaving, breaks yet another relationship afterwards. He blames Jaskier for all the bad things that befell him lately and basically chases the bard away, ending the friendship that we finally saw take shape in the show. That quarrel and break of connection between Jaskier and Geralt never happens in the books. Number 4. The Dragons. In the show, the Green Dragoness was noticed by the villagers of Bearfield. They banded together and went after the treasure. She was protecting her egg from the attackers and got wounded in the process. Her cry summoned Villentretenmerth to her side. It was too late to save the Dragoness, but the Golden Dragon and his 2 Zerrikanian warriors decided to protect the egg. In the books, this story goes somewhat differently. The Green Dragoness is attacking shepherds and their flocks, burning and eating the sheep. As I discussed earlier, she is poisoned by a cobbler named Sheepbagger. She doesn't die and manages to get away. Afterwards, she summons Villentretenmerth to help her, and as a reward, she promises him her dragon cub. Green Dragoness doesn't die in the books. She just flies away, while wounded Egg is being dragged from the battlefield. In the show, the meeting of humans and the dragon is quite short. Egg is already dead. Yennefer freezes Yarpen and his buddies, so that only leaves Geralt, Yen and the Zerrikanians fighting against the Reavers in defense of the dragon egg. At the end, Villentretenmerth gives Yarpen dragon teeth, to show the king as proof of the dragon's demise, and all ends well. In the books, the situation is much more complex. When the hunters finally reach the dragon, Villentretenmerth offers to fight them one by one, in honorable, knightly combat. No magic, no fire, just good, honest smashing. Eik takes up this challenge and is fast defeated and mangled by the dragon, but not killed. Nobody else wants to fight the dragon honorably after that. King Niedamir learns his lesson well, gives up the dragon hunt and decides to just leave, along with whatever men he has left. The Reavers and the dwarves are gearing up to attack the dragon all together, but their plans are spoiled by Dorregaray, who threatens everyone who even dreams of hurting the dragon. They are spoiled even further by Geralt, who intends to kill them, and by Yennefer, who in turn stops Geralt instead. After quite a commotion, Yennefer, Dorregaray, Jaskier and Geralt find themselves bound and helpless. The dragon makes short work of the dwarves and the Reavers, sending them all running to the hills. He only injures Borch, while in the show, Borch is killed by Yennefer. However, the troubles do not end there. Sheepbagger, the cobbler that I mentioned earlier, comes back with many friends, intent on killing the dragon. And here, Yennefer comes to the rescue. Released from her bonds by Geralt's Igni sign, she goes on a spellcasting rampage, easily defeating and dispersing the villagers. It might be worth noting that here Yen becomes the only wizard in history to ever cast spells with a leg instead of a hand. And, same as in the show, all ends well. Both the dragon and the dragon cub are safe. Number 5. Ciri and the Doppler. All the adventures of Ciri, Dara and the Doppler in this episode are a show-only addition. Nothing like that ever happens in the books, so there is nothing to compare those events to. However, from the questions that Ciri is asking fake Mousesack here, we can surmise that show Ciri knows next to nothing about Geralt, the law of surprise, and her destiny. She was told nothing by nobody, and Calante only mentioned Geralt on her deathbed. Book Ciri is much better informed. She was told much by her nanny when she was very young, and even though Calante didn't really like that, Book Ciri knows that she is a child of surprise, that she is destined for a white-haired witcher that will one day come and take her away. We also get some evidence that show Dopplers do not work the same as book Dopplers do. Ciri figures out that Mousesack is not a real Mousesack based on few simple questions that revealed Doppler's lack of knowledge of the druid. Adonis didn't know that Mousesack had arthritis and hated the cold. He also didn't know that the druid considered Cintra his home. Book Dopplers copy others down to the smallest detail, and that includes their victims' mentality, character, feelings and thoughts. So Book Doppler would know that Mousesack hated the cold, and even probably that he considered Cintra his home. Show Doppler's copying process seems to be much less sophisticated. On the other hand, when Doppler turns into Cahir later, he claims that he knows all his tricks, so it seems like show Dopplers can perfectly copy physical attributes and abilities, but not mental ones. And while we are talking about Cahir, it is worth mentioning that his scenes in this episode are also a show-only addition. Book Cahir, at this point in time, was still imprisoned for his failure to capture Ciri in the first place. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to get notified of the continuance of this series. Leave a like and consider sharing the video with others, it really helps the channel. I hope to always be improving, so suggestions, comments and constructive criticism are welcome. Leave them in the comments below. Have a nice day and I'll see you next time.